Morning, everybody. How are y'all doing today? I'm doing pretty good myself because today, I needed to take a little break after the last Quantum TV video, which I actually uploaded earlier today at the time of recording this, because, that video, it was so bad that I just had to decompress a little bit. But also, I just want to say, at the time of recording this video, that video is already at over 200 views. And it has 17 likes or something like that. Thank you guys so much. I kind of thought that video would do decently because, it's Quantum TV and he's been a hot topic recently, but I did not expect it to do that well. My God, thank you guys so much for the support, and I can't wait to see how much better it does in the coming days. But anyway, today we are going to be taking a look at a video which is basically this guy. Now, I do need to preface this by saying this video is a little older. It's a little over a year old now. But, again, like I said in the last video, stupidity doesn't have an expiration date. And also, there's not really anything going on in the gaming industry right now that's worth talking about. So the next few videos for me might be me digging up older stuff to talk about, but I don't think you guys will mind that, will you? I don't think so. But anyway, this guy in this video is trying to basically make the argument that consoles are better than PC, which you could absolutely make that argument if you really tried, and I have no problem with people making that argument, but the reasons he uses in this video for why consoles are better than PC is absolutely stupid. And something that's very suspicious is that this video is just over the 10-minute mark, so I kind of feel like it may have been uploaded just to get some hate clicks and dislikes and stuff for engagement. But either way, we're going to give him the engagement he wants because, in case you guys couldn't tell by now, I don't hate people who I make videos on, except for Quantum TV because he's an actual piece of garbage. But yeah, I have nothing personally against any of the people I make videos on. I just don't agree with what they say. That doesn't mean I hate them as a person. That's actually stupid. But anyway, guys, yeah, I just didn't really agree with what this guy said in the video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Yo, unironically, not even being sarcastic or anything, I actually really like that intro music, man. I haven't seen any videos you've uploaded recently, but I hope you still use that, because that's actually a bop, not gonna lie.
Hey there, YouTube, and welcome to Vision. Today I wanted to talk about one of the most important topics in the gaming landscape, which is gaming on a console versus gaming on a PC. In the long history of video games, the debate between the console versus the PC as the best gaming platform now stretches back a decade. With the broadening of the gaming market due in part to the release of runaway console success stories such as that of Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox brands, and the centralization of PC gaming under Steam, more people are playing games than at any other point in history, and consumer data reveals that this trend will only continue in the years to come. As the base of players grows, the debate between the consoles has only intensified. Many of us have become familiar with or even on the receiving ends of monikers such as Sony Pony or Xbox, these titles being hurled towards the opposing trench lines in the perpetual console wars.
But yeah, I just skipped over that part because he was basically just giving a brief history lecture on the history of consoles versus consoles and consoles versus PC, so I didn't really feel like it added anything, and there was nothing really for me to commentate on, so just decided to speed it up.
But the debate between the console gamers and PC gamers has similarly raged. Before I continue, I want to make a quick disclaimer. This video is part 2 of a 2-part series where I discuss the pros and cons of console gaming and PC gaming, because I want the average consumer to have a better idea of what each platform brings to the table instead of simply hearing one side of the discussion.
Yeah, and you know what, dude, to your credit, your video saying why PCs was better than consoles, that was actually a good video. He actually had some pretty solid points. But something I just noticed after going back to watch that video on why PC is better than console, I think this dude may have actually copy-pasted the exact intro because he has the same exact vocal pitch and he speaks the same exact way in both intros, and he says the exact same things and they're edited the exact same way. I might be wrong about that, and he might just be sticking to the same script or whatever, but it honestly sounded like he just copy-pasted it, which isn't necessarily a negative thing in all honesty, but whatever.
I still game on both platforms myself, and both of them have their advantages and their disadvantages when compared against each other. So think about this question. What makes PC gaming or console gaming better to you? And let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Well, since he asked, I might as well give my little synopsis for why I decided to switch to PC, because in case you guys didn't know, I was on Xbox for 8 years before I finally switched to PC in late 2020. And you know what? It was honestly probably the best decision I've ever made in terms of gaming. And I know a lot of people are probably tired of hearing, oh, PC guys talking about how it was the best decision they ever made. But it really is. And unless you make the switch, you probably won't understand. But if you do, then you will absolutely understand why people keep saying that. But I guess my main reasons for why I switched were the higher frame rates, I can customize the graphics however I want, so I can prioritize frame rate or like resolution / graphics if I want to. Like for example, when I'm making a video, I crank the graphics all the way up to max and turn ray tracing all the way up, just so that like you guys have like a nicer visual experience. Because like the way I see it, you know, YouTube caps videos at 60 FPS. So me playing a game at like 160 FPS or 180 FPS isn't really gonna like make a difference for you guys. So I figured for you guys, might as well give you the better visual experience, even if it means that like my frame rate is lower, because at the end of the day, you guys won't even see a difference anyway. But also, you know, switching to PC, it allowed me to actually start a YouTube channel, which that was very nice. And also, PCs are way more customizable. I don't have to wait for more powerful hardware to come out to, like, you know, with consoles, you got to wait for a mid-gen refresh to upgrade your hardware. With PC, like, a few months after getting it, I switched from a 1650 Super to a 3070 Ti, and it was a huge jump in performance, and I didn't have to wait, like, 3 or 4 years for that upgrade. Also, PC games go on sale more often, as far as I know. Also, not having to pay for online is very nice. And honestly, I just needed a new PC in general, so even if I wasn't getting one for gaming, I just needed one for like schoolwork and stuff, because my other one was crapping out on me. So yeah, I guess those are my reasons, and since he asked, I figured might as well give him.
So let's start with reason number 1 that console gaming is better than PC gaming, and that is that consoles are easier to use.
You know what, man? You're absolutely right. Turning on your console and pressing play on there is so much harder than turning on your PC and pressing play on there. But at this point, this is where the video just takes a complete and utter nosedive.
As Mikhail Kalashnikov, designer of the AK-47, once said, "All that is complex is not useful, and all that is useful is simple." And when it comes to consumer electronics, setting up a video game console is one of the easiest things to do.
And how is a PC any harder? Literally all you do is plug it in, turn it on, install updates, install the launchers for your games, download your games, and that's it. I don't really see what's so hard about that.
When my Xbox arrived, I opened it up, plugged the necessary cords into my television, went through the process of accessing my Wi-Fi and logging into my account, downloaded the necessary updates, and used my free subscription Xbox Live. I accomplished all of these things in roughly 2 hours before I was able to begin downloading my first game. This is just not the case with the PC.
And let me just say this right now. I already know there's probably going to be somebody in the comments saying, oh, well, with PC, you have to build it all yourself, then you have to install Windows, and you have to get it all configured and hooked up and stuff. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because on PC, you have the option. You can either order a pre-built, or what you can do is you can use a website like NZXT Build, and then have them build it for you and then ship it to you after you pick out the parts that you want, and then all you have to do is plug it in and set it up just like that. Like, you have the option to build the PC if you want to, which is what I did. I chose to build the PC because, one, I didn't want to pay for another company to do it, and two, I'd always wanted to build a PC, so I saw it as a great opportunity. Like, you have the option if you want to, but if you don't want to, you do not have to build a PC. So that argument goes out the window the second you make it.
Firstly, PC gaming requires the loading of an operating system, downloading Steam, checking your graphics card and updating the driver, so on and so forth, before you can eventually begin to actually play games.
I could have sworn like 20 seconds ago this dude was just talking about all the steps he had to go through to set up his Xbox, where he had to plug it in, download all the updates, which probably took a good amount of time. Then he had to like set up all his account information and get on the Wi-Fi. Then he had to use his Xbox Live Gold membership, and then he started downloading games, which I know also took a while. So, I mean, how is PC any different? Because what you're describing sounds like it would take the same amount of time, if not less time, than setting up a console would. So I don't really know what this point is.
Is this process ruinous? No. Is it as bad as pulling teeth? Certainly not. Is it simple? Not compared to the plug-and-play experience of a console.
Like I just said, if you're ordering your PC from a build website or you're getting a pre-built, it really is that easy. If you want to build it and you want to have the extra challenge with it, then you can. but by no circumstances do you have to. Like, the problem is, dude, with this point is you're acting like every single person is gonna build their PC, which is not the case. Like, maybe the more hardcore PC master race dudes might, like myself, if I'm being honest. But if people are going to be gaming more casually on PC, or if they just don't want to go through the effort of building it themselves, again, they have the option to do that. So PC can quite literally be as easy of a plug-and-play experience as console, if not easier in certain situations.
Additionally, if you want to play on a gamepad, many older games don't support that option, requiring you to go and download a third-party program in order to do so, which may or may not work at all. Even if it does work, that gamepad feature is often costly in terms of time and difficult to make work without significant trial and error.
I know this dude did not just say that you have to go through and download additional software to make controllers work on your PC. Like, dude, I've used an Xbox controller on my PC whenever I play Forza. I literally just get a cable, plug it into the PC, or if you're in a position where you have a motherboard that supports Bluetooth, you can just connect it wirelessly. Like, you do not need to download third-party software to make a controller work on a PC. That is a blatant lie. And if you want to get technical about it, PC has more controller support than consoles ever have and ever will, because PCs can use basically every controller that's ever been made, and last time I checked, consoles can only use the controllers they were designed to take, besides the Nintendo Switch. But even then, the amount of like crap you have to go through to get that to work, like a keyboard and mouse or an Xbox controller on your Switch, is just not worth it. And plus, why would you want to do that anyway? Also, you said some old games might not support this feature. Mind naming a single one, please?
Now compare that to using a controller on your console, which requires virtually no effort. You put in your batteries and you press the on button. Very easy.
Yes, and you can literally do the same exact thing with PC, or if you want it to be wired, you don't even need batteries in the first place. Also, like I just said, PC supports basically every controller ever made, and most consoles only support the controllers that were designed to work with them.
And that's where this point ends. A PC is almost always going to be a superior machine, but not always a necessary one. And if you decide to purchase a PC, be prepared for the maintenance and natural issues that you will experience with a complex computing machine.
I mean, does this dude not realize that consoles are literally just PCs with extremely restrictive operating systems? Also, you know what, you're absolutely right, dude. Consoles have never had technical issues before. Only PCs ever have technical issues. Like, let's be real. Forget the fact that my Xbox One S bricked on me after less than a year, and I had to get a One X on a discount instead because it decided to kill itself for some reason. Yeah, no, forget that. And forget the fact that my PC has literally had no technical issues whatsoever, and I've constantly been swapping in and out parts. And I built the thing myself, and I had no idea how to build a PC at the time. So, you know what, man, you're absolutely right. PCs have way more technical issues than console.
Because they will happen, and when they do, you'll need to know you can take care of them. Which brings me to my next point. Reason number 2 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that repairing consoles is easier than repairing a gaming PC, at least for catastrophic issues.
Again, this is completely false, because I remember last summer I actually built my friend's PC with him, and he had an SSD, and what happened was some save file on his PC got corrupted, so he lost administrator level access for some reason, and he literally couldn't do anything on it. So he had to just get a new SSD, take the old one out, put the new one in, reinstall Windows, and boom, that was it. Like, with PCs, you can literally just do some self-troubleshooting and most likely fix the issue, unless it's like some extreme thing. But like I just said, all my friend had to do was get a new SSD and swap it in with the old one, and it worked just fine. Like, if a console breaks, unless you're like a professional and like you know exactly how console hardware works, you're gonna have to send it to the company. Like, who knows if they might charge you for it or not, depending on how severe the issue is. And also then you're probably gonna have to wait at least a week or two, and then like sometimes in other cases it's taken like about a month or so. So personally, I see PC like issues being much more easily solved than console issues, because at least with a PC, like even with a very limited amount of knowledge, you can just do it yourself. Like, okay, yeah, it kind of sucked that my friend had to spend extra money on another SSD that he now can't use, and I will give props for that. Like, if you don't want to have to pay, like, it's most likely that console manufacturers won't charge for a repair, depending on if it was their fault or not, at least in my experience. So yeah, I will give that. Like, if you do have a console, like, then you probably won't have to pay for the repair. But even with PC, like depending on how catastrophic the issue is, you might not even have to pay for it. But even so, like all you do is you just get, like in my friend's case, he just got the new part he needed. It arrived in like a day or two, and then he just swapped it out, and then his PC was good to go. So the time that it takes to repair is definitely much shorter on PC, but I will concede that if you don't want to have to like spend a lot of extra money to get it repaired, then console is definitely the way to go. Like, I'm not just going to blindly fanboy for PC. I will admit where consoles are better, and that is one of the issues where consoles are better. It just kind of sucks that this dude chose to focus on just way more irrelevant issues, as we'll soon see.
Imagine that you're playing your Xbox one day. You're in the midst of an epic showdown with an immensely powerful brute on Halo. Your laser-focused, fast-as-lightning reflexes are your advantage in defeating your terrible foe. Just as you raise your weapon to deliver the mortal strike, your console turns off. You try to turn it back on to no avail. You do everything you know to do to fix the problem, but you just can't do it. So what do? Simple. With a gaming console, you can call Microsoft and have your console shipped to them for repair services.
Okay, not even being sarcastic, when he put that list up the first time when I was watching this video for the first time, I actually lost it laughing. Like, that list was really funny, dude. Like as bad as this video is in terms of reasons, there is some good comedy. So, you know, I will give props for that. Well done on that, my dude. But like I just said, yeah, it's nice that you might not have to pay, you know, depending on if you have a warranty or not. I actually just thought that's the case they would charge you in, is if you didn't have a warranty. So yeah, basically if your warranty runs out, then you're kind of screwed either way, and you're gonna have to pay for the repair. Not exactly sure how much that is, but I can imagine it's a pretty good amount. And plus, on top of paying whatever fee they make you pay, you're going to have to wait an insanely long time. Like, if you're trying to repair, like in my friend's case, the SSD, you can, like, just hop in your car, go to Best Buy or Target or something and get another one, or you can just order it off of Amazon and, like, hopefully it'll have pretty short shipping. But once again, like, when it comes to console manufacturers repairing a console, that usually takes a couple weeks. So, I mean, again, like, while yes, it probably doesn't cost as much to repair a console as it would to repair a PC if there was like a catastrophic issue, which is a plus to consoles. Like, in terms of getting it back in a timely manner, PC definitely has the advantage in that regard. Plus, you don't even have to like lose your PC to a manufacturer for a while. You can still have it even if like something breaks. Like, say my graphics card wasn't working, like my PC can still work without my graphics card. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to like game without it, but I could still like do schoolwork and stuff even without the graphics card. So yeah, I mean, with PCs at least, if one thing breaks, like there's, as long as it's not a very important thing, it can still function. But with consoles, typically if one thing breaks, that typically causes the whole system to go to crap.
The repair services that console makers provide come straight from the source. You don't need to find a specialist, you just need to send it to one place 99% of the time.
Okay, but let's just say someone gets a PC pre-built by NZXT Build, then from what I've heard, pretty much all of the parts from NZXT Build come with like a year or two warranty, and you're gonna, if any part breaks, you just need to send it back to them, and then they'll fix it as long as you have the warranty for free. So like, I don't really see how this is much different from consoles, because like if like applying the pre-built PC logic to this scenario, it's the same exact thing. You send it to one company, whichever company you ordered the PC from, and then as long as you have the warranty, they'll fix it for free. So it's literally the same exact situation.
And given the market pressures to provide stable, functioning consumer electronics, whatever company made your console will usually do whatever it can to get your product fixed. PC gaming manufacturers are a completely different story. Gaming computers are made by a myriad of companies, the overwhelming majority of whom don't have to operate under the same level of market pressure as Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo because they aren't as well known.
Okay, but if someone orders a pre-built PC from a lesser-known company who has a really crappy like warranty policy or like repair policy, like that's on the person who ordered the PC for not doing enough research on who they were buying it from in the first place. Like, that's not PC's fault. Like, again, like I'm shilling a lot for NZXT Build right now, or not shilling because I guess you need to be paid to be a shill. But yeah, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm supporting NZXT Build a lot here. I'm not sponsored by them or anyway. I'm way too small of a creator to get any sponsorships. But yeah, I'm like pointing them out a lot, but it is true. Like, they are probably one of the best, if not the best, PC building services out there. So again, Like, if someone orders from a shady PC building company with a really crappy repair policy, like, that's on them. That is not PC gaming's fault.
A lot of gamers that aren't really familiar with the PC can't really tell you the difference between Nvidia's graphics cards versus AMD. With consoles, this information simply isn't as pertinent as it is for PC gamers.
Okay, but what is console gamers not being able to tell apart AMD and Nvidia GPUs have to do with the warranty system on PC versus console? Like, where did that even come from?
But let's say you have a problem with your gaming rig. If you're smart enough to figure out the issue on your own, congratulations, you savvy computer devil you. I tip my hat in respect of your computer skills. If not, you're gonna have to find a computer repair store, which I have found through personal experience can vary widely in terms of their customer service and ability to actually solve your problem.
Again, if you order a crappy PC from a crappy company with a crappy return/repair/warranty policy, like, that's on you for not doing enough research. That is not on PCs for being too complex.
Reason number 3 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that consoles have first-party exclusive games.
Can I just say, in my opinion, this is the dumbest argument for PC versus console when it, like, this first-party exclusives argument is so dumb, because how does the console having games that can only be played on it make the console better? Like, how does that make the console better? Like, by that logic, if, like, because remember how Microsoft, like, a lot of their Xbox One exclusives before they came to PC, like, they were pretty crappy for the most part, and by that by the logic that consoles having first-party exclusives makes them better means that the Xbox should have been just as good as the PlayStation, if not better. But that wasn't the case. The PS4 was far superior to the Xbox One in almost every single way. And yeah, you could argue that for some people, like, the exclusive games might push them to buy a console, but that's a very small, like, majority of people. Like, the same friend who I helped build his PC, he was playing on Xbox before, and he actually did get a PlayStation just to play some PlayStation first-party exclusives. But if you look at the attach rate of PlayStation exclusives to consoles sold, like PlayStation games sold to consoles sold, it's like a 15 to 20% attach rate. So that means only 15% or 20% of people who even bought a PlayStation bothered buying the exclusives. But that doesn't mean that 15 to 20% of people bought the console just for the exclusives. Like, most people are buying consoles for third-party games like Madden, Call of Duty, Minecraft, and Fortnite. So this argument only really works if there's, like, this one game that is, like, objectively everyone should play it, and it's only on one platform. But, like, that game doesn't exist. Like, yeah, you can argue a lot of PlayStation's great games are extremely good, like God of War and Spider-Man, but, like, just because the vast majority of people agree that they're good, that doesn't mean everyone's going to agree. Like, for something to be objective, like, it has to be undeniable, and, like, someone might not enjoy a Sony first-party exclusive as much as a Microsoft first-party exclusive, like myself. So, yeah, this whole exclusives argument really means nothing, in all honesty.
If there is any reason on this list that die-hard console gamers should be able to use as solid ammunition in the debate between consoles and the PC, it's that the PC gaming experience, going solely by the games which are released on PC, simply does not offer the fabled lineup that it once held the title for.
Okay, so one, like I just explained, this is, like, the worst possible ammunition. Like, you can make some good arguments that are like 50 cal bullets, but this, in terms of ammunition, this is like a blank, in all honesty. Like, it's obnoxious to hear, and it does nothing anyway. Also, what do you mean PC doesn't have the exclusives it used to? Like, PC still has the exclusives that it used to. You do realize this, right? It's not like video games have disappeared that were exclusively on PC and aren't anymore. Like, you do realize this, right? Like, some of the most popular games, like, you know, the Half-Life games, like, pretty much all of Valve's games, like the Portal games, like, those are exclusive. Like, those were never lost from PC. You can still buy and play those games to this day. The Team Fortress games as well. Like, I don't really see what this has to do with anything, because this is just objectively wrong. And nobody get it twisted. Like, I'm not, like, bragging that these games are exclusive. In fact, like, I wish all of these PC exclusives, like all these Valve games, would come to console. Like, I never got Portal on PC, and I started to think about it, but then I watched a Nintendo Direct, and they announced Portal for PC, or for Nintendo Switch, sorry, and I'm actually going to pick up Portal on the Switch instead of on my PC, because I want it to be on the go, and I already know it's probably going to run at a locked 60 FPS on the Switch anyway. So yeah, like I am not opposed to PC games coming to console at all. In fact, I hope it does because most of my friends play on console. Like me and 2 of my friends play on PC, and then pretty much all my other friends that I play with on a regular basis play on consoles. And there's a ton of games on PC exclusively that I want them to be able to play as well. Like another good example is Escape from Tarkov. So yeah, that would be awesome if every exclusive came to every platform. Like honestly, I think we would have like gamer world peace. And I know that sounded cringe. It was a joke. Get over it.
Microsoft has Halo and Gears of War. Sony has The Last of Us and Uncharted. Nintendo has Mario and The Legend of Zelda.
I mean, pointing this out really doesn't help your point that much, besides from in the case of Nintendo, because every single Microsoft first-party game is on PC as well as Xbox, and PlayStation over time has been porting every single one of their exclusives to PC, and the release date between on PlayStation and on PC is getting smaller and smaller as time has gone on. And eventually, I guarantee we'll be hitting day-and-date releases for both PlayStation exclusives on PC. The only company that's probably never going to put their exclusives on PC is Nintendo, because Nintendo's in a special position where their hardware never really compels people to go buy it. It's more so the exclusives and like the functionality of the consoles, like the Switch, it being portable, because Nintendo, like the Switch, barely gets any third-party games that release nowadays. Like obviously once Microsoft has Activision under their roof, they're going to start porting Call of Duty to the Switch, which is going to be absolutely amazing. And honestly, I might have to consider picking up future COD games, not just for my PC, but also for the Switch for whenever I go away. But yeah, talking about Microsoft and PlayStation exclusives really doesn't help you, considering all Microsoft's exclusives are already on PC, and all of PlayStation's exclusives will be on PC at some point in the future.
All of these games have sold millions of copies and are even revered as some of the greatest games ever made. Sure, the PC has been the home of some fantastic series over the years. Crowbar swingers stand at attention. But without first-party developers, the PC gamer doesn't benefit the same way that consoles do in terms of exclusive games.
I'm sorry, how is it a benefit to console gamers that other people cannot play their games on other platforms? Like, a great example is Halo. Before that came to PC, the only people who could play it were people on Xbox, so it had a much smaller player pool to work with. But now that Halo is on PC and it's cross-platform, and Halo Infinite launched day and date, like now the console players have a much wider player pool of people to play with. So I don't understand. I don't get this argument. Like, how exactly, like, can someone explain how people having exclusive games somehow gives them an advantage? Like, I genuinely don't get it. The only thing that you get from that is if you're a fanboy and you get bragging rights on Twitter.
While Microsoft has been making their games more available to PC consumers, Nintendo and Sony don't appear to have any plans to do so.
Again, I know this video is a bit on the older side, but at the time of this video having been made, Sony had already ported a bunch of exclusives over to PC, and they had already announced that they would be porting the entire PlayStation exclusive library over to PC by the time this video came out. So this is just a straight up lie. I don't know if this dude just wasn't aware or not, but like, not a good look, dude, honestly.
And their platforms are the only places you'll be able to play their games. Sony and Microsoft have been bolstering their respective number of first-party development studios to prepare for the upcoming 9th generation of consoles. Microsoft Game Studios includes names such as Obsidian Entertainment, Ninja Theory Limited, The Coalition, and 343 Industries. Sony similarly has an array of talented development teams including Guerrilla Games, Insomniac Games, and Naughty Dog Studios under their corporate umbrella. All of these studios have a solid track record of making great games. In contrast, the list of developers who exclusively focus on PC games is very small.
Okay, and once again, why is this an issue? Like, why is it a bad thing that most developers focus on console and PC? Like, how, I still don't understand. How is it beneficial to have a developer only focusing on releasing their games on one platform? Like, what is so wrong with developers focusing on releasing their games on multiple platforms? Like, I really don't get it. Like, I'd hate to label this dude as a fanboy because, like, again, as I said previously and as he said, like, he did make a video that was actually a good video detailing why PC was better than console. So he's definitely not a fanboy, but he just seems, I don't know, just like misinformed, or I guess it just doesn't really feel like these points were very well thought out, in all honesty.
And even though PC gamers can fairly point to some categories of games that don't come to consoles very often, such as RTS and turn-based strategy games, console gamers can equally point to the lack of many of the AAA games mentioned above in regards to the PC. Finally, even the games that do receive PC ports, like some of the sports games that a lot of us are into, don't have as strong of an online community.
Now, this is actually kind of a fair point. Like, typically whenever I turn off, like if I ever accidentally turn off crossplay for like Call of Duty or something like that, typically it takes me forever to find a match, or I just don't find one, and then I realize that I accidentally turned it off and I go and turn it back on. But more and more games are just starting to have crossplay, as like crossplay is just becoming a standard in the video game industry at this point. Like, look at all these older games that are getting crossplay support, like Overwatch and Rainbow Six Siege. Those games did not launch with crossplay. Oh, Apex Legends is another version. That game got crossplay a while ago. Like, all those games, they did not launch with crossplay, but crossplay was integrated over time. Probably one, to help the PC guys like find more matches so they could sell more copies of the game on PC, but also just so, you know, people could play with their friends, and like people would be more incentivized to get the game if they know they can play with their friends on other platforms. So like, yes, this argument is valid, but it's slowly but surely becoming more and more invalid with every passing day because of crossplay becoming so much more common.
Look at the sales of Madden NFL 20 on the Xbox versus its PC port. The numbers are simply incomparable, and besides which, PC ports of games often aren't as good as their console counterparts because companies don't want to spend as much time and resources on trying to make a PC as good as its console counterpart, because they know that they won't see as much of a return on their investment due to the PC market not being as strong of a place to invest development resources.
Okay, that's complete and utter cap, because Steam has over 1 billion registered users, which is more users than Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo has combined on their current gen consoles. So yeah, dude, I don't think this is a very valid point, because like PC through Steam alone has objectively the largest like video game marketplace in the entire world, mainly because they have a whole 1/7 of the entire world's population with an account on their website. Also, you do know that all games are developed on PCs and then put on consoles, even console exclusives, right? Like, all of Sony's games and Nintendo's games are developed on PCs, and then their graphics are scaled accordingly to the dev kits, and then they are put on the consoles exclusively. So porting games to PC is probably the easiest port the developers could do, because they don't even have to like preset the graphics or anything, because that's what's great about PC. You can choose what graphical presets you want. You don't have to have the companies like forcing you on a certain graphical preset with a certain frame rate. Like, you get to pick. So if anything, PC is the easiest possible platform for developers to port their games over to, because games are already developed on PC first before console in the first place, and then on top of that, they don't have to worry about like perfectly matching graphical settings and like getting the specific frame rate that they need to.
See the controversy in 2015 over Batman Arkham Knight on PC. Even though PC doesn't have the same list of exclusive games as the consoles do, one thing I've noted people saying about PCs is that they have more games, and while I don't really have any data on hand to refute that point, I'd ask you to go look at the game library on Steam right now, and you'll probably see what I see, which is endless pages of arcade games and other games that, while I'm not really going to pass judgment on them because I haven't played them, the games listed in their libraries simply aren't of the same caliber to make up for the experiences offered by the consoles, at least for the average consumer.
Well, yes, it is true. PC has like 99% of all video games ever made in the history of the universe, including through like emulation and stuff. Like, one of my favorite examples to bring up is through emulation, PC has more support for Nintendo's games than like Nintendo's current console, the Switch, does. Also, I really just hate how you're just trying to make your opinion a fact here, dude. Like, who are you to say that people aren't gonna like look at these games and say, oh, I want to try them, or oh, like I really enjoy that game? Like these exclusive games that are supposedly so good on like, you know, Nintendo and Sony's consoles, like that's completely subjective whether you think the game is good or not. Like I said earlier, like those games are not objectively good. Like, they have objectively good things about them, but like it's not an objective fact that like people are going to enjoy them. That's just not how that works. Because if that was the case, then every single person would like every single Sony and Nintendo exclusive, and every single person would buy a PlayStation and a Switch just for the exclusives. But that's not how it is.
Reason number 4 that console gaming is better than PC gaming is that multiplayer games on consoles are generally going to be more equalized. When you're playing an online game on a console, everyone uses basically the same equipment, whereas on PC, different monitors, gamepads, keyboards, etc. can be optimized for gaming, which means it's possible for some players to have an advantage over others.
Now, I'm going to ask a genuine question to you. Did you actually think this point through before you said it? Because let's think about this. He was saying, oh, people can have like better monitors and stuff for PCs. Well, guess what? You can do the same thing for a console. You can have better monitors. You can have better TVs. Let's also not forget that there's different types of each console. So there's the PS4, the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One, One S, and One X. Then there's the PS5, the Xbox Series S, and the Xbox Series X. So you're going to get different performance, like you're going to get different frame rates and graphical fidelities on each one of those. Also, you can buy like PS4 SCUF controllers, the Xbox Elite controllers, which give you advantages in multiplayer games because they have the paddles. Like, in all honesty, putting the exclusives argument aside, this is probably one of the worst arguments you could possibly make in terms of console versus PC. Like, saying that consoles are on a more equal playing field than PC is just stupid, because like he literally said that you can get different types of monitors and TVs that give you advantages on PC, but you can do the exact same thing for console. And then also you can get all the different types of controllers and like all the different like levels of console, like whether it's the PS4, the PS4 Pro, or the PS5, that's going to give you different frame rates and graphical fidelities. So like no matter which platform you're on, except for the Switch, because you know there's only one of that, but no matter which platform you're on, basically, like spending more money will always give you an advantage over other people. Like, this is not exclusively a PC issue. Like, this is a thing on console as well. I should know, because back when I played on Xbox, I got an Xbox One X, and then I also had a Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, and I, not really so much thanks to the Xbox, but mainly thanks to the controller, I was instantly able to outplay so many more people in games than I was before because of the extra paddles and buttons and stuff. So, like, dude, you do not want to be making this argument. This is one of the worst possible arguments you could make.
Whereas again, with a console, there's really not going to be much variation for the average person using a controller, other than their inherent skill in the game. For example, I strongly doubt that many people even own the Xbox Elite controller, but even if they do, I think it's really unlikely for them to be substantially better at a game just because of the controller they're using alone.
No, dude, trust me. From personal experience, the Xbox Elite controller can make you significantly better at video games if you learn how to, like, adjust the paddles accordingly to your play style, and, like, you learn the best binds for your paddles. But, like, how funny is that? He literally just admitted, while making the argument that consoles have a more equal playing field than PC, like, during that argument, he literally just pointed out something that completely disproves that entire point. Like, you've got to love it. He's arguing my points for me at this point.
And then there's also the issue of specialized monitors here, which isn't a bad thing on its own, but it is definitely something that can have an influence when aggregated against the other technical factors at play here.
Again, like I just said, monitors don't only apply to PC, they also apply to console, because especially in the case of the Xbox Series X and S and the PS5, like, let's just say that a person is playing a game that supports 120 FPS, but they're playing it on a 60 hertz TV, and then another person's playing that same game, but they're playing on a 120 hertz TV. Like, the person who's on the 60 hertz TV is at an objective disadvantage versus the person on the 120 hertz TV. So once again, like, this argument is just flat out invalid.
And finally, we arrive at reason number 5 that console gaming is better than PC gaming. And this last reason might turn on an argument that's similar to the simplicity discussion in reason number 1. But in a word, the final reason that console gaming is better than PC gaming all comes down to optimization.
Okay, genuinely asking this right now, could anyone please head down to the comments section below and tell me a single game on both PC and console that is better optimized for console? Because last I checked, playing Destiny 2 at 20 FPS on an Xbox One at extremely low graphical fidelity and settings is nowhere near as good as playing it on a 3090 with like 200 FPS in the highest graphics possible. Like, the whole argument that consoles have better optimization than PC is just stupid, because on PC you can optimize the game however you want. Like, you can make the game perform however well or however poorly you want it to. Like, obviously I don't know why you would want it to perform poorly, but consoles are restricted a lot of times to 30 FPS, and obviously with the new consoles, like 60 FPS is becoming more and more available. But especially on the last gen consoles, like a ton of games, especially like single player games, were locked at 30 FPS, and those same games, especially open world ones on PC, could easily run at 60 plus, and in a lot of cases on higher end PCs 144 plus. So like the argument that games are better optimized for console than PC is just completely invalid, and I'm genuinely asking if anyone can think of any multi-plat game that runs better on console than PC. Please let me know in the comments, because I would actually like to know.
When you buy a console, you're also buying a certain guarantee that you're going to be able to put a console under your television, plug it in, and it will simply work without any major issues popping up. There's no need to evaluate a console's graphics card to make sure it's up to date. You don't need to worry about whether or not other players will have an advantage playing against you online with a mouse and keyboard. Well, you didn't have to at one point.
Okay, so I'm not going to reiterate a bunch of points I said earlier in the video on stuff he just repeated here, but in terms of checking graphics drivers, literally that is as simple as opening the application for whatever graphics card you use and just clicking check for updates. If there's an update available, then you just download it, and then when it's done, it's done. And if there isn't, then you can just go on playing your games. It's like checking if there's an update for a game or a console. It's literally like the exact same thing. And also, in terms of the whole not needing to worry about keyboard and mouse things, even for games that don't have crossplay, like last I checked, a lot of Xbox games, I'm not sure about PlayStation games, but last I checked, a lot of Xbox games actually support mouse and keyboard. So you can plug a mouse and keyboard into your Xbox and use it like on the Xbox, and you will have that advantage. That's something I actually forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about like the different types of consoles and the different controllers and stuff. So like that argument is just objectively wrong.
And generally speaking, the experience of gaming on a console is that of overall ease and simplicity. With a console, a night of Netflix doesn't require a special setup or the breaking of social norms.
Okay, what does that even mean? How is it breaking social norms to watch Netflix on a PC? Like, a lot of people do that. Like, sure, it's probably most popular. If I had to guess, it's probably most popular to watch Netflix on either your phone or your television. But a lot of people still watch Netflix on their PCs. And also, it doesn't take a complex setup to set up Netflix. You literally just turn your computer on, go to netflix.com, log in, and then like that's the end of it. It's the same thing on console, except actually, I mean, going by your own logic, you could argue it's easier technically on PC, because on console you have to go through the process of installing something, which by your logic is an extreme hassle compared to just sitting down on your couch and plugging in your computer and then just logging into Netflix. Like by your own logic, going through the process of installing something makes it objectively worse. So don't really know what your point is here.
Pew Research recently reported that the overwhelming majority of young people have access to or own a video game console. And the fact that gaming consoles are so widely used is a sign of their ability to be seamlessly used by so many people.
Yes, you're right. Consoles are very easy to use, and they're easily used by most people. But all these young people, in all likelihood, have these consoles because their parents probably got them for Christmas, or they just didn't want to get into PC gaming because, you know, all their friends probably have consoles. Because, you know, PC gaming, I'm not like trying to say it's for like older people or more superior people or anything. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that generally on PC, like, I don't see that many like 9 or 10-year-olds playing. Like, usually you find like a lot of younger kids on Xbox or PlayStation because their parents just like run out and get them consoles. But also, going back to my point about Steam earlier, like, Steam has more registered users than people own the Xbox One, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5 and Switch combined. So I think it's safe to say, like, you're trying to make the claim, oh, so many people have access to consoles, that proves how easy it is to use. Well, way more people use PC than console. So, I mean, by that logic, PC is more accessible than console. I'm not trying to make that argument. I'm just going off of his logic.
Without having to perform a ton of research on any exact product with certain specs for a certain budget or a monitor setup, so on and so forth. As previously mentioned, a console is something that almost anyone can use without resorting to techno jargon or a complicated setup. Consoles are the perfect, seamless technology that work with almost any existing entertainment item that you have in your home.
Well, in terms of performing research, like, you should still research the console you're gonna buy, so that way you know, like, oh, this console supports 120 FPS, so maybe I should invest in this this monitor or TV so I can take full advantage of the console. Like, maybe this console costs significantly less than this one, and I'm on a budget right now, so I want to save my money, and I don't really care about how well games perform, so let me get the cheaper console, and then I can spend the rest of the money on games, or I can just have the extra money laying around in case I need it, because, you know, like, COVID might start for the 15th time at this point. Who the hell knows? But also, to say that only consoles have access to almost all forms of entertainment, like, that is completely stupid. PCs have access to way more than consoles could ever hope to have access to, and that doesn't only go for productivity, but that also goes for entertainment. I mean, look at the Switch, for example. Like, that thing doesn't even have, like, Amazon Prime Video available on it.
And it's just incredibly hard to beat the convenience of throwing on a game and then switching over to Netflix or Hulu when you have your significant other over.
Do I even need to point out how dumb this point is? Like, you can literally do this exact same thing on PC, if not easier, because, you know, games like load much faster and close much faster on PC. Also, PC has way more access to forms of entertainment. Like, not every single service is available on console, and basically every single one is available on PC. So, I mean, how exactly is it harder to switch from playing a game to watching Netflix on console than it is to switch from playing a game to watching Netflix on PC? Like, this makes no sense at all.
Alright YouTube, so those are my 5 reasons why console gaming is better than PC gaming. So are my thoughts that of a silly console peasant? Are you praying now for the mighty Lord Gaben to smite me as I speak? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.
No, of course I wouldn't wish anyone to smite you. I would never wish harm on anyone for an opinion over a video game console or a take on it, no matter how bad it is, like this one. But yeah, guys, that's basically the end of the video. He just does his outro and then the video ends. So basically what we learned today is consoles are better than PC because PC is just as accessible as console, and PCs can do more than console, which I don't really understand, but like I said in the beginning of the video, this video was not very well thought out, clearly, and something tells me this dude may have just made this video to get a bunch of engagement in the form of negative comments and dislikes, which honestly, I can kind of respect the hustle on that. That probably was a pretty smart move in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, guys, comment below if you have any videos you want me to cover, and also, like, as of recording this video, my Quantum TV video is up to 530 views and 27 likes. Like, holy crap, thank you guys so much for all the support on that video. I am so happy I made it. And honestly, like, tell me in the comments if you've made it to this point in the video. I was planning on making like a much longer, like probably hour 20 to 2 hour video covering a bunch of Quantum TV videos in a singular video that sort of all encompasses hatred for the Xbox Series X. So if you guys would like to see that, or if you guys are pumped for that, please let me know in the comments below. As always, be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and especially subscribe if you want to see that hour plus long video on Quantum TV, and I will catch you guys in that video.